to check out the stat by your girl Treasure Wilson, aka Stat Baby. So today we're talking about top landing spots in NFL free agency, Wendy Williams' heartbreaking situation, and Russell Wilson's top Sierra songs. But first, I've got to give a shout out to our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. With Underdog, you can earn money by making picks on your favorite players. You can try the app in California, Florida, Texas, and New York, and the list goes on. If you want to play along, go download Underdog Fantasy, use code STAT, they'll match your deposit up to $100, and you'll get a special pick. So now that brings us to our Superwoman of the Week, who is Paige Beckers. UConn's women's basketball took a big 78-54 win over Villanova. And guys, the game was crazy. UConn easily went by Villanova. This win gave UConn the Big East title. And one player on that team that we always have to keep our eyes on is Paige. We've talked about Angel Reese, we've talked about Caitlin Clark, and a lot of other players, but I think it's definitely Paige's time to get her shine. And don't get me wrong, this is not going to be the last time you hear of Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, but it's definitely time to put a new player on the map. So Paige scored 31 points in the game for UConn, and we found out this won't be the last season she'll be dropping crazy numbers like that. She revealed that she will be staying at UConn for another year. She said she's coming back for the 2024 to the 2025 season during UConn's senior night ceremony on Friday, following the Huskies' 85-44 win over Georgetown. So this was last week. This is a huge announcement because we were all wondering what Paige's next steps would be, but now we know. So if you don't know about Paige, on ESPN's top 25 list, she is listed as third, and rightfully so. So first was Caitlin Clark, and second was Cameron Brink. I haven't talked much about Cameron, but I'm definitely going to make sure I tap you guys into her because she is also a phenomenal college women's basketball player. Paige is averaging 20.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 3.9 assists. She's a 6-foot junior, and she could have made the decision, like I said, to leave, but she is loyal to the Huskies for another year. So back in 2021, she led her team to the Final Four and was the Naismith Player of the Year. She's the first freshman Player of the Year in the 39-year history of the award, which is a huge accomplishment, and then fourth first-year player ever, following men's winners like Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, and Zion Williamson. Now, knowing that Paige has another year, it'll definitely be dope to watch her shine and then see how far UConn can go this season. Now for Talk to Stat, there's a couple discussions I want to have. And the big topic right now is NFL free agency. So guys, it's Friday. It's officially March 1st. And in 13 days, there's definitely going to be a lot of movement going around in the NFL space. As we know, the Chiefs are back-to-back champs. Lamar Jackson got the city of Baltimore hype right now. Lions are on the come up. The 49ers are definitely ready for a title. And a lot of changes need to be made. So football free agency opens March 13th at 4 p.m. And then this is where we find out who's staying or going to a different team or not going to a different team at all. So today, some of the people that I want to discuss are the biggest quarterbacks being thrown around in the conversation right now. So first, we're going to talk about Russell Wilson. So I want to preface, Russell Wilson is not a free agent, but he is definitely being thrown around on the trading block. So to me, the Russell Wilson situation is definitely a big question mark. There's no doubt that previously the Broncos had a quarterback issue, and I think it's safe to say that they still have a quarterback issue because Russell Wilson was supposed to solve that problem, and that just didn't happen. He had a huge decline in the 2022 season, and he had a league high in sacks and underperformed for 2022. So then, boom, comes along 2023. Sean Payton was supposed to bring back some hope, but they still had a very inconsistent offense. So he was a once elite quarterback, and I hate to say once elite because I don't like to diss on Russell Wilson, but we got to look at the facts. Russell Wilson wasn't as good as he usually would be. He was benched towards the end of the season, and because of a written injury guarantee, the Broncos can prevent $37 million of Wilson's 2025 salary from becoming guaranteed by releasing him before March 17th, 2024. So March 17th is a big date for Russell Wilson. So it's important to note that even if the Broncos release Russell Wilson, they will still owe him $39 million for the 2024 season. And that comes to his fully guaranteed $17 million base salary and $22 million signing bonus. So I know a lot of the discussion was around how much money is he actually making. So I think that the Broncos definitely want to pay off that money and then start fresh, start something new. But it depends. They might work with Russell Wilson for another year, but the way it's looking and the relationship that he had with the team, the chemistry, and Sean Payton, it's not looking very promising. But for all I know, that could just be chatter right now, and they might be planning to fully proceed with Russell Wilson at the quarterback position. So if Russell Wilson was to go to a different team, a lot of teams could benefit from the veteran quarterback and his help. And I think some teams that really should look into him, y'all know I'm a Steelers fan, but it wouldn't be too bad of a decision if they had a vet quarterback like Russell with the team. Also the Raiders, and honestly the Vikings if Kirk Cousins gets released and Josh Dobbs remains. We will get into Kirk Cousins later. The next quarterback that I definitely want to talk about is Justin Fields. He's also not a free agent, but he might be on the trading block before free agency begins. We're looking at some sort of trade if it is to happen at some point this week. There is still no details, but there's a lot of discussion about what is next for Justin Fields. So the Bears have the first pick in the NFL draft, and all eyes right now are on Caleb Williams. I think it would be kind of a no-brainer for the Bears to make their decision in acquiring Caleb Williams. So what does that mean for Justin Fields? So we saw that he unfollowed the Bears off of social media. He followed a lot of Atlanta Falcons players, and then he said, if you don't follow the girl on IG, that doesn't mean you're not messing with her. I think that was just a slick comment to say because me personally, if I'm the quarterback of a team, I'm not going to go ahead and unfollow the team. Yes, I did previously say that people feed a lot into social media, which they do, but if that's like me not following, it is what it is. To me, that doesn't make sense, but to each their own. And also Justin Fields' hometown is Georgia, so a lot of discussion is around him going to the Falcons. So a lot of it makes sense. We'll see what happens. Another favorite to trade for Justin Fields was the Steelers, which I think is highly unlikely given the next player that we are going to talk about. But my decision for Justin Fields, if you want to say Treasurer's prediction, is that it is very unlikely that the Bears are going to stay with Justin Fields, and I could see some Atlanta Falcons trade happening anytime soon. Anytime this week, we'll see what happens. So then that brings us to the next player, Mason Rudolph, who is the Steelers' technically backup quarterback, because we all know right now it is Kenny Pickett, but he has hit that free agency realm. The Steelers had a rocky season given our quarterback situation. Everybody knew that the Steelers needed to fix their quarterback situation, especially if we want to be able to advance next season. But thanks to Mason Rudolph, we were still managed to get into the playoffs thanks to the way that he played. So he completed 74.65% of his passes for 716 yards, 3 touchdowns to no interceptions over the 3 starts in the final 3 games of the regular season. The Steelers went 3-0 and clinched the 7th seed in the AFC playoffs with those victories. So to me, I think Mason Rudolph has a starter mentality, and it doesn't make sense to build with a new quarterback right now when you already have one who is making sure that he can prove himself. A lot of Steelers fans wrote Mason Rudolph off, especially when Kenny Pickett came into the picture. But given the circumstances, I think it's definitely time to make sure we're comparing the 2 quarterbacks because we got to see who's going to fit best in our situation. Steelers also released Mitch Trubisky, making him a free agent. I cannot speak for what I think is next for him. Right now, like I said, all eyes are on Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph. And Mason Rudolph's biggest problem, I think, will definitely be competing for his spot on the depth chart because it's really going to come down to Mason Rudolph versus Kenny Pickett. Like I said earlier, I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers tried to benefit off a vet quarterback like Russell Wilson. But for right now, I just think that Mason Rudolph is very likely to get signed. And then during training camp, we will see who will be the starting quarterback. Next, Zach Wilson. I don't even have much notes for him. So basically, he was granted the option to look at other teams to be able to trade to. He's not a free agent. He's also on the trading block. I just don't have high hopes for him. I'm not going to say his career is over. I never want to wish that on any athlete because I know how important the game of football is to them. But Zach Wilson has just had a rocky season. I don't think he's a favorite among a lot of Jets fans, especially when Aaron Rodgers comes back. He's going to have a lot to be working against. So we'll see what happens next for him. I wish him all the best of luck, but for all we know, he will just be the Jets' backup quarterback, and we'll see what happens for him then. Next quarterback is Kirk Cousins. And the question that I want to ask you all is, Can Kirk Cousins be trusted at 36 years old coming off a torn Achilles? So he's not 36 right now. He is 35, but he will be 36 when the season starts. And you know how people feel about that age. He's only made it to the playoffs 3 times in his career and only won in the playoff once. And obviously we know that he has no ring. And this is not to knock at Kirk Cousins. I'm a fan of Kirk Cousins, but we got to look at the gameplay and what he has done for the team. I think he definitely gave the Vikings some hope. But what we all want to see is wins. So the Vikings said that they believe Kirk wants to stay in Minnesota, and they're saying that they're sure he does and that they're going to see if they can work with him to stay with them in Minnesota. Now, that's great and all, and that's a cute statement to make, but it's not about where he likely wants to be or where he wants to stay. It's saying, can we build something from this? Can we build something off of this quarterback? Can we have good chemistry? Are we going to make wins? I think it personally might be time to let him go. No matter how much of a Kirk Cousins fan you are, we got to look at the stats and we got to look at what's best for the team. And I don't even like to say right off the bat he's not best for the team, but we're not getting wins and he's getting older and they could use another quarterback in the situation. It might be time to try something new. And I think that he could have good luck getting a strong contract at another team because if Kyler Murray is worth $45 million a year and he's not even performing that well, I think Kirk should be able to secure a good enough deal. And then we have Baker Mayfield, the Bucs quarterback, who I think surprised us all this season. So Baker signed with the Bucs as an unrestricted free agent to a 1-year deal on March 16th, 2023. Previously, we know Baker Mayfield was selected by the Browns as the number 1 pick in the 2018 draft. And this was definitely Baker Mayfield's comeback season. He took the reins in following in huge footsteps over Tom Brady. And we already know Tampa Bay had a Super Bowl-ready team after winning in 2021. So it was like, who was going to be the best quarterback to fit in this situation? And I definitely think that Baker Mayfield brought stability to the quarterback position, which is what Tampa Bay was lacking. Baker Mayfield, overall, he performed well in the pocket. The team had good chemistry. They had a 9-8 record, first in the NFC South, and losing to the Lions in the playoffs. Wasn't an easy task, but Baker Mayfield got it done. And I know Tampa Bay hopes that they can keep him at the quarterback position. And I think that Tampa Bay is going to grant that wish. So I think that they are very likely to re-sign him and he will get a well-deserved payday because at this point, he deserves it. He has showed that he can perform well. And I think Tampa Bay is going to have a great season next year. But it's also dependent on where Mike Evans goes. And we're not even talking about other players who aren't quarterbacks. So there's a lot of discussion going around and we're going to dive into more players as we get closer and closer to the free agency date. But that's my quarterback analysis. We're going to see what happens. But with that, we're going to go to break. And then when we return, we will get into Ain't No Way.
She called this thing about toxic. 4 years and counting. Got you feeling like an option. Maybe I'm my own problem, babe. She tired of hearing I don't know. What's stubborn in me won't fall. Dealing with this thing called trust. But she really thinking about it. She wanna be free. Why am I here this woman? She wanna be free. Hell, I don't wanna see her walk away. I wish somebody told me the rules. Disagreements let her win, then it's cool. Even when I'm right, this ain't about.
Welcome back. Now, moving along to the crazy things that have happened this week. Ain't no way y'all are profiting off of Wendy Williams' dementia. So if you guys haven't heard, the former media personality and broadcaster known for the Wendy Williams show is suffering with dementia, aphasia, and an autoimmune disorder called Graves' disease. So she also has like a language disorder, and there's a lot of other mental issues happening in that realm that was released earlier this week. So she took a leave from her popular gossip show back in 2021. So the question stands, where has Wendy Williams been? So to answer that question, recently, Lifetime released a 4-part documentary on her life. But there's a lot of controversy surrounding this documentary, and there are a lot of valid reasons as to why it's so controversial. So a lot of people claim the documentary is disturbing as it highlights her current life and very personal conversations. They're also saying that she has an alcohol-induced dementia, so there's clips of her forgetting family members' names and criticizing her assistants and people around her. There's also a lot of personal clips of her without her hair and makeup done, her having an intimate conversation with Black China about, how she's been, her divorce, just a lot of things that she's went through, because I think we knew, Wendy Williams has spoke out a lot about a lot of issues, but we didn't know where she was in this period of time. So to her to have that leave of absence and come back and then it's all this, it was definitely a lot for people to kind of focus on and realize that was happening to her. Because, someone that we've once seen on TV who seemed fine and now we've seen a very fast decline, it's pretty sad to see. So the documentary focuses on Williams' family's attempts to reclaim guardianship over her, and the family knows that they distrust a lot of people around her, including her publicist and then her current caretaker. So the question that stands now is whether Wendy Williams truly consented to being shown in this light, because the question still stands. Does she even remember consenting to this if this was granted by her? So now her legal guardian is trying to sue Lifetime's parent company over the document. And that still just brings a lot of questions because, if you are her legal guardian, I'm assuming you had some part in her signing over for her to be able to do this documentary. So now suing over it, it's like, who helped her when this decision was being made? You feel me? So now the executive producer for the show claims that nothing was filmed without Williams or her manager's approval. So that kind of answers the unanswered questions that we have. Like, obviously, it had to be signed off by somebody in Wendy Williams' realm. Producers also said that they feel the docuseries actually helped Williams seek better care, expressing hope that the documentary played a role in helping her get to that safer place. So a lot of the people were saying that she liked having camera crew around when she was in a dark place because she had somebody to talk to, and she was actually able to open up about her feelings and things going on in her life. So it's a lot of legal battles, a lot of trauma, a lot of things happening with various people that we don't even know if they're even particularly close to Wendy Williams to begin with. Whole thing is a lot to unravel and has brought a situation to light that people didn't even know was going on. Like I said, it's a lot. And then the bad thing is just social media. The comments have been off the charts. Some people feel like that she's being exploited and saying that she doesn't deserve this and that this should have been, contained within the family. Then there's some people talking crazy, saying because she, brought other people's drama to light, this is what she deserved. Now, me personally, I don't think anybody in the world deserves this type of treatment. I think that everybody should be treated fairly and that, I think everybody is owed, a nice, healthy life. And, sometimes we don't get the opportunity to have that. But saying that Wendy Williams deserves this is crazy. The documentary clips are actually very sad. I definitely want to know you guys' responses to the documentary if you have seen it, and if you haven't seen the full documentary, definitely you guys' responses to the clips, because it is a lot and it's sad to see, but it also is the reality in a lot of people's lives as well. So I see both sides, but at the same time, I definitely don't think that people should be saying a lot of the things that they're saying about her, but people are going to talk, and that's what happens when things are on TV. So I see where they're coming from. Okay, now we're going to get into Tell Me What's Up, because the stats wouldn't be the stats without questions and answers from you. So y'all wanted my opinion on Russell Wilson naming his top 3 Sierra songs. So basically in an interview with Brandon Marshall and I Am Athlete, Russell Wilson opened up about a lot of things, basically a little bit of his relationship with Sean Payton and learning that he was being benched. But also, obviously, he talked about being with Sierra. So one of the questions he was asked was, what are your top 3 Sierra songs? He said, well, number 1, I would say Ride. I love watching that video. Say it ain't so, Russell Wilson. Say it ain't so. Number 2, he said, I would say Body Party, because there's a moment in that song when I saw her smile and I was like, that's the one for me. I've seen her smile in that video and I was like, she's the one for me. Which I think is so cute. Before he even knew her, he saw the video and he said, that's going to be my girl. And he got what he wanted. I love stories like that where people, go out to get something that they want and it actually is successful. So that's dope to hear that he always had a little crush on her even beforehand. And then for the third song he named, and he just named 3 songs in one. He said 1, 2 Step, Goodies, and Level Up. I just think it's really cute to see him supporting, his girl like that, because as he should. I think he's one of the few athletes that actually is always going to have her back, always make sure that she looks good in the limelight, and then will never criticize her, because I think nowadays, I would say there's like a women and men war. I don't know why everybody wants to be right so bad. I think we should just support each other, because at the end of the day, men need women and women need men. So I like that he is always loving to her and loving to her publicly as well. We need more of that. Talking about his order though, Ride, Body Party, 1 2 Step, duh, that makes sense. Those are her classics. But I was surprised he didn't say Promise, because Ciara definitely sang her heart out in that song. She snapped. That's one of my favorite Ciara songs ever. Obviously, we know she's super talented, but that song definitely needed its flowers. I do agree with Body Party, and I do agree with Goodies, because that's, its own little jam. So shout out to Ciara, and shout out to Russell Wilson for speaking well about his girl, as he always will. Okay, and then the last thing, you guys asked my opinion on court storming. So as we know that there was an incident at Duke where one of the players got injured. I don't want to say injured in quotes, because it's like they said he was injured, but it didn't really look like he was that injured after, the opposing team stormed the court. And then a similar situation happened with Caitlin Clark, where she, stumbled a little bit. I'm all for court storming. Sometimes people, I've been seeing on the internet, people have been saying that they think it's corny. I don't think it's corny at all, especially on a college campus, because if you are playing your rival school and you beat them, especially if it's a close game, or even if y'all are the underdogs and not expected to win, why can't we run on the court and celebrate? Like, that's one of those celebrations that you never get back, one of those once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. It's not like we storm the court every single game. But for those big games that count, duh, like, we're excited, especially some college kids who are drinking a little bit. Like, we got different ways to celebrate, and that's a great way to celebrate. Like, I think the other teams are just upset about that, because obviously when you lose, you ain't trying to deal with the opposing team all up in your face, but just get out the way. That's just how it should be. Just move out the way. Because if you're bothered, you got to win. And if you don't win, that's on you. And they will storm the court, and that's that. But that's it for today's episode. Y'all can hashtag check out the stats so we can continue the discussion next week. And maybe your question or take will be featured. Thanks for hanging out with me and checking out the stats. I'll see y'all next week.
2 Big Macs, like when they doing them 2 for $5.